If you just got a call from your attorney that your case is headed to trial and you want to know what to expect, this is the video you need to watch, so stay tuned. So you just got a phone call from your attorney who told you that your case is going to trial, and you're a little scared and nervous about what to expect. Just know that's perfectly normal. That's okay to be a little nervous. We know that our clients don't go to trial every day, just like we do. And so a good attorney will walk you through the process of what to expect. But before you have that conversation with your attorney, let me explain to you a little bit about the trial process, what's going to happen, and why you should participate and help your lawyer in any way that you can. First, if you just found out your case is going to trial, there's something you need to know right off the bat. Unfortunately, the way the court systems work in most states is that multiple cases are called in for trial on the same date. Now, why would you do that? Why would the judge want to call in multiple cases on the same date? That just seems like a waste of everyone's time. But the reality is many cases settle either the days or even the morning of the trial. And so what'll typically happen in most cases is a judge will issue basically a trial calendar that lists cases in order. And so it'll start with 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. And so when the date rolls around for trial, they'll start with case number 1, and they'll say, okay, case number 1, you're up. And then maybe 3 days before trial, case number 1 settles. So then the court moves down to case number 2. And then let's say maybe case number 2 settles the morning of trial. And so the lawyers for case number 3 will get a phone call and say, hey, you need to come in, it's your case. And then they'll pack up, they'll come to court, and they'll start their trial. And typically that continues. I mean, sometimes these case lists can have 30 or 40 cases on them, and they'll just start at the beginning and work their way down. And then let's say case 3 only takes 2 days, but the trial calendar is a whole week. Then the next thing is the judge will call case 4 maybe to start their case midweek and finish out before the end of that week. And so the first thing you need to know is, unfortunately, your schedule is going to have to be flexible because trial calendars are completely flexible. A judge can call in any case at any time. Cases can settle ahead of you. Judges can move cases up on the list. And so when your lawyer calls you and says, hey, we might be going to court the week of September 15th, you just need to be prepared. But just know it's not a guarantee that your case is going to trial that week, because there might be other cases ahead of you. A case might be called out of order. The cases might settle. And so a good lawyer will always notify their clients of these trial dates, tell them to kind of put it on their calendar just in case, but also know that there's a high likelihood that just because you appear on that trial calendar for that week doesn't mean that you're going to get reached. Well, let's say you're case number 12 on the list, and the week goes by and they don't get to case number 12. Typically, in most courts, that means you'll roll over to the next trial week. Whether that be the next month, 2 months, 2 weeks later, it depends on the court. But often, let's say you, at the end, you're the third one on the list. You're in position 12, but you're the third one on the list. All the cases above you either had the trial or they settled. So then on the next trial calendar that gets issued, typically you'll be in position 3. So you'll move up on that list, and then the process will start all over again. And so one of the kind of frustrating things I get from my clients is they're like, well, how do I schedule my work? How do I know if I'm going to go to trial on the week that I'm on the trial calendar? And the reality is that it's very difficult. You just have to tell your boss, tell your family to be prepared just in case. But a good lawyer will kind of be able to give you percentages. We'll be able to say, listen, I think there's an 80% chance that we go to trial that week. Or, hey, I think there's a 20% chance we're going to go to trial that week. Really trust your lawyer, because your lawyer should know the court system, how many cases typically settle, and should be able to give you a pretty good idea of what to expect as far as whether or not your case is going to trial. But flexibility is key, because you just never know when a judge is going to call your case instead of another. So let's say your lawyer's told you that you're on a trial calendar. What do you need to do? Well, the first thing is I always recommend you go back and read your deposition in the case. This will refresh your memory of what you said in the deposition, what you testified to. because one of the most important things in a trial is to make sure that your testimony is consistent. We know that these cases can take 2, 3, or even 4 years to get to trial, and your memory might have faded. And so one of the best ways to kind of refresh your memory about the facts of the case is to go back and read your deposition to make sure that your testimony remains consistent. If your testimony is not consistent, number one, it could be a crime, it could be perjury, but more importantly, people's memories fade and they forget items. But sometimes the other party will call you out on that and will try to make it look like you're being dishonest. It's called impeachment. They'll try to impeach you with your prior inconsistent testimony. Definitely watch out for that. You want to make sure that your testimony is consistent, even if you just maybe had a bad memory and forgot what you were talking about. And so always go back and reread your deposition just to make sure you prepare for the trial. The next thing is talk to your lawyer about the process. Talk about jury selection. What kind of jurors are you going to look for? What kind of jurors do you think would fit for your case? Talk about what your lawyer is going to say in their opening statement. Talk about the other witnesses. What other witnesses need to be there? Hopefully your lawyer will help coordinate with maybe some friends or family that can come and testify on your behalf. But also talk to them about the process. How long is this trial going to take? Some trials take 1 day. Some trials can take 3 weeks. It just depends on the type of case. And so talk about how long it's going to be. How long should you prepare to be at that courthouse? Next, you want to make sure you are reserving the time on your calendar and that you get to the courthouse early. Most courthouses have security you have to go through. There's usually a long line to get in, and so you definitely don't want to be cutting it close on the day of your trial. And so you want to make sure you arrive with plenty of time to your trial to make sure that you feel comfortable, feel prepared, and can basically talk to your lawyer for any last-minute questions prior to the trial starting. But it's very important to get there on time and get there early because you never know just how long that security line is going to be to get in the courthouse, especially if you live in a major metropolitan area. The next thing, always remember when you're at trial that the jury is going to be observing you, and that starts the moment you step out of your car in the parking lot. And so if you're in the parking lot and you're honking at somebody or screaming out your window or yelling at them, that might actually be a juror in your case, and you might have just made them angry and frustrated, and you might have just lost your case before you even stepped inside the courtroom. So know, on the morning of trial, even when you're pulling your car into the parking lot, every person you interact with could be a potential juror. And so you want to make sure you're respectful, you're kind, you smile at people, you let other people go in traffic, because you never know who's going to be on your jury. And I've seen it happen before where I have somebody who maybe is, acts out or is mean in a parking lot or basically says something, maybe uses some bad language, and a juror hears it, and ultimately that ends up affecting their case. And so know that you're on trial the moment that you basically enter the parking lot and step out of your vehicle. Which brings me to my next thing. You're going to court, and so you want to dress properly. Talk to your lawyer, get their recommendation of what they think you should wear, but you want to look presentable. You want to show respect to the judge, and the way you show respect is by dressing nice. I'm amazed at how many people show up to court, most of them without a lawyer, wearing a t-shirt, flip-flops, shorts, because it just sends the message that you don't care about that court system. And so you want to look nice, you want to look presentable, you want to make sure your hair's brushed and combed, and you look like you took the time to prepare yourself and be respectful for the court system. Believe me, I've seen huge differences in the sentences that criminal defendants receive or even verdicts that the plaintiffs receive just based on what they're wearing, how they look, how attentive they are, and how much they look like they respect and honor the court system. So definitely a fact that you want to consider. But when it comes to the trial itself, so we've talked about what to do when you first get on the trial calendar, what you do when you arrive, and how to make yourself appear presentable as you're preparing to go to court. And then lastly, when you're in the actual trial, you want to stay engaged in your case. If you don't care about your case, why should the jury care about your case? And so you want to be listening to witnesses. You want to be writing notes to your lawyer. You want to be asking questions. Juries are going to be watching you, and they're going to be making sure that you care about this, because if you don't care about your case, they're not going to care about your case. And so I always recommend to my clients, put the phone away, turn it off, put it in your pocket. You're not going to be on your phone. You're going to be looking at the jury. You're going to be listening to the witnesses. You're going to be paying attention. Because if you're over there sitting in the seat at your case, falling asleep because you're so bored, guess what the jury's going to be doing? They're going to be doing the same exact thing. And so you want to be sure you remain engaged, because that sends the message to the jurors that they should be engaged and they should listen, and that your case is important. And so that's just some tips and some guidance of what to do when your case gets called in for a trial. Obviously, we do trials all the time. And so maybe you have a case that you want to talk to our law firm about that could go to trial, or may need a lawyer to litigate. Maybe you're another attorney, and maybe you don't litigate very often, and you want to know if our firm will take a look at your case. If you have a case in Georgia that you want us to take a look at, obviously feel free to give us a call. We're more than happy to talk. We'll give you a free consultation, even give you some free advice. But definitely reach out, definitely talk to someone, because you do not want to go into a trial without a battle-tested attorney who has been to trial, has succeeded, and has done it before. So if I can help you in any way, obviously reach out and give me a call. Thank you for watching our videos. If you like getting these updates or learning more, obviously like and subscribe. But otherwise, I just want to tell you, thanks for listening.